Hello folks, welcome to the fourth episode of the Shield Combat series. In the last episode we learned the basic principles of footwork, linear and circular. We used half, full and rotational steps to move away or around our opponent. In this episode we will have a closer look on the principles of offense and when to attack. There were some troubles with the video recording, I fucked up the settings and it was all in all a bit chaotic. So some scenes are missing. However, at the moment there are not many opportunities to record videos, so I try to do the best out of it. Excuses sometimes bad quality. So let's start. In a real fight, you do not care about who makes the most hit points. Your mindset would probably be, damn, how do I defeat my enemy without getting killed or even injured? To hit your opponent from a safe position, you need to control the combat. This can happen in two ways. You control the opponent's body and weapon, or you control him in time, which will be the topic of this episode. We will call acting first in combat being or acting in four. Four means that you perform an action which demands an answer from your opponent. It's a concept from the German longsword tradition. You start in control by forcing your opponent to respond to your attack, until the time point when his or her response forces you to react. The simplest form of control in time is that one combatant is faster and has better reflexes than the other. This allows for fast strikes or thrust to expose parts of the opponent, often called sniping. However, this tactic mostly works against beginners, whose guards are not properly executed yet and who react too slow. But what to do when your opponent has no wide open gaps in their cover? Well, the definition of 4, it demands a response, tells us that we cannot simply strike with full force in the opponent's cover. This does not really demand a response, since it's no threat and invites your opponent to counters. Instead, you start taking the control in 4 by attacking to the weak points and therefore provoke defensive reactions, and in the best case, a gap into his cover. For the beginning, we define weak points as body parts which are not directly covered by any weapons. In this case, the center line with the upper head and the upper torso. So then let's start with a thrust to his face, or strike from above onto his head if thrusts are not allowed in your system. If he pushes you away with a sword, bam, new weak point at the left head. Let your sword snap over by giving into the force and letting the sword loosely rotate in your hand parallel to his shield. Let it come up again and strike to his head while covering your right side with your shield. Your opponent even blocked this one? Fine, step back and cut to his right leg. Sounds familiar, right? Doesn't it? It's a footwork exercise from last episode. You're welcome, nothing new to learn. Many fighters will however block with a shield, so you may want to go directly for the leg in this case and work your way from here instead of the swapping over. In the optimal scenario, you stay in control through precise attack combinations. You force him or her to react to your actions. Gaps are created when weak points are not properly defended. However, since a skilled fighter can apply a counter technique at any time point, you should not blindly rush through your combinations, but evaluate your actions after each step. You can make your combos even more effective by implementing feints. A feint is any movement which fools your opponent into believing you do a full committed attack. Instead, the attack is stopped shortly before it would hit and then redirected to the next weak point. If the enemy falls for it, you increased your time control, since your opponent is still busy defending a point which you will not attack anyway. According to our definition of 4, the feint has to be as convincing as possible to elicit a reaction. Ideally, you should execute the first attack as long as your weapon control allows, but it should be aborted just before the actual contact happens, so you can withhold any tactile information about your intentions. You can implement feints at any point. It does not have to be the first attack, but can also be the second or fourth. However, feints require a lot of weapon control to work properly. In general, there are some good moments in a fight when you should start your offensive in the fore. Directly after your opponent's attack fails to reach you or goes into your shield cover. If he or she changes into a guard which does not optimally protect against your guard. For example, he goes into low when you are high. When she or he steps forward without doing any other action. Remember to properly cover any advances, may it be steps or attacks. You can practice recognizing these situations with a partner. The partner passes through the scenarios and you start an attack combination as soon as you are aware of one of it. Adapt the speed to your skill level. Since I cannot show all the combinations I intended to, we use this as an opportunity to improve your tactical mindset. Think of practical attack combinations from 4 on your own and practice them at home or when the situation allows it directly with a partner. Remember, weak points are often the face, the head, on the weapon side or exposed hands. For example, you can start with an attack or even a feint to the shield hand and go for the head afterwards. Also train your weapon handling for feints. Practicing half strikes already should have given you a decent weapon control. Now you stop your thrust or strike just before the imaginable weapon contact and attack the next weak point from here on. So, that's all for this episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed it despite the technical issues and learned something new. If you want to read more of the concept of 4 from the German longsword, I recommend the article from Keith Farrell, linked in the description. In the next 2 episodes, we will have a look on how to properly defend yourself against someone acting from 4 and how to counter him or her.